Welcome, everybody. This is Starting Out Bright, and I'm Noreen Savage. I'm so glad you're here. And tonight you're in for a treat because Kelly Cowherd is in the house. Hi, Kelly. And just in case,
Hello.
we have not met before, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself, who I am, and especially who I'm not. I am nobody official with Bright Line Eating, but the program has done a lot for me, and I found out about it in 2019, just scrolling on Facebook, and my friend Lori posted that she lost 57 pounds with a program called Bright Line Eating. And if anybody was interested, they could just give her a shout. So I quickly got over to the messenger to find out Lori's secret. And she proceeded to tell me that there was a book by Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson called Bright Line Eating. And in the book, Dr. Thompson talks about 4 bright lines that you don't cross. No sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day, weighed in measured portions. And when I heard all that, I felt sunk. I thought there was absolutely no way that I could do that so restrictive, right? But, I trust Lori, and we got together for lunch, and she just explained a little bit more of the program, and actually seeing what she was eating wasn't all that bad. And so by the end of the conversation, I was convinced of 2 things: to get the book and to get into the community, this big online community that seems like a big secret. But the Facebook group she talked about was We Eat Bright with Lines. It's a great group. It's a private Facebook group, still going strong. There are many groups. There is the Starting Out Bright group, which is associated with these Zoom chats, recipe groups galore, and there was, it's in pause right now, but the Bright Line official group, which was a public group. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on tonight. But anyway, I got in this We Eat Bright with Lines group, and I just sat and watched and read and listened to the stories of people changing their lives, losing weight, like a lot of weight, not just 10 or 20 pounds like I was doing every couple months, but 50, 100, 150 pounds. And for the first time in a long time, I felt hope rise in me like never before. And I promised myself that if I got on this Bright Line Eating, I would do what Lori did. I would post on Facebook if I lasted 1 year. Well, I got started in July 2019. It took me a couple months to get going, and I practiced for 3 weeks, just giving up sugar and flour first before I clunked the scale on the counter. But then I was all in, and a year later, here it was, July 2020, and I'm getting ready to post right back there in that chair, thinking to myself, what am I going to say? And at that point, I'm a Christian, and I felt God say to me, Noreen, you can do more than that. You could help people. You could connect them. All these people that you've been watching be so successful. If you could just share their stories, if you could get them to talk about their stories, wouldn't that be great with those who needed a little bit of help and a little bit of hope? And so that's how the Zooms were born. And I came into this after almost 3 decades of dieting. And so I was ready. I didn't think I was ready, but I was ready. I was 270 pounds at 5'2". That's a lot of weight. I carried it on my knees, which was an excruciating pain. Plantar fasciitis, bad back, snoring every night, sleep apnea, many times not thinking that I would wake up. So for me right now, I'm at 95 pounds lost. I still have a ways to go, but I am just so grateful to the program. And I am so grateful for everyone who has participated. And tonight we have Kelly Cowherd. And Kelly, welcome. Welcome to Starting Out Bright. Thank you for saying yes and taking one for the team.
No, I appreciate the invite. I'm humbled and honored, and you're doing a wonderful gift to so many, and I appreciate you. So thanks for letting me come.
Well, Kelly, we talked the other day, and it was so great getting to know each other. So great. And, everybody has their story as they get into bright line eating. What was yours? How can you just bring us up to speed? How did you get started? Where were you?
Well, it was fall of 2020, and we all know that was a interesting time. But like you, I'll go back a little further. I feel like so many of us in the community started with a lifetime of trying to find our perfect right size body, right? So I remember in high school, I was always uncomfortable in my skin. I'm one of those that can look back and go, you were fine, right? But I definitely carried some extra weight. Started dieting young. I think I've done Nutrisystem, and there was a group called Taking Off Pounds Sensibly. I'm not even sure what it's associated with, but in high school, my mom and I were going. I don't remember doing that for very long. Weight Watchers. I actually found my box. We talked about my, box of history and all these notes of all these weights I have from all these years. So I had tried lots of things, metabolic research, and over the years through Weight Watchers or metabolic, I had lost the most probably ever 40 or 50 pounds, but I could never keep it off. I mean, I always said I was the healthiest overweight person I knew because I was very diligent about trying to be healthy and make good, healthy choices and always reading. I always said I could write books on diet. I mean, I understood, the need for proteins and a balance and to eat your fruit with a protein, all these things, right, that we've learned in all different ways. And in fall of 2020, actually, I think I shared with you when the pandemic started, I even was like, man, I've got to cut out some sugar because sugar feeds viruses. And if we've got a virus that we need to be prepared for, I should cut back. And so I did. And of course we weren't eating out and doing all the things, right? But in the fall, I had two different Facebook friends post about bright line eating, both very different, coming from very different places, but both just I'm going to start this, or I'm going to start this again, coming into the new year. And it just clicked. And I really wish I knew exactly what my thought had been, but I know that I bought the book and I devoured the book. I actually got it on like my Kindle so I could have it right away. But as soon as I finished it, I actually ordered a hard copy because I'm like, I want to be able to go back and reference. I want to physically be able to get to, certain pages as far as preparing what you're going to get ready and whatever. Because I didn't actually even realize that there was, boot camp and all these things. Like, I don't know how I missed the memo, but anyway, so I read the book, I devoured the book. Thankfully, Chrissy, one of the gals that had posted it, also had just a very small private Facebook group that was just people that she personally knew, that was in it. And she would, post some of her meals and some encouragement. And thankfully it gave me some tips. But really from the book and her encouragement on her little small group got me started. Like you, though, I did a soft start. I did that all in the fall. I bought all the things, by the way, I bought all the things. I bought the 5-year journal. I bought I don't know if you can see that. I bought the journal, right? This is one of many that was in the picture. I bought the gratitude journal. I bought a food scale. I did get all my ducks in a row and get everything ready. With my official start being January 13th of 2021.
And that was on purpose. You said you like that number 13.
Number 13 is kind of special in our family. I was born on the 13th. My dad was actually number 13 on his state championship basketball team in high school. So, 13's always been. My daughter was born on the 13th. So we just have lots of connection to 13. So it's kind of our fun day. So I decided to avoid the proverbial January 1st. But
when you planned from November, you gave yourself time to get through the holidays.
Yep.
Knowing you were starting, not even just on January 1st, January 13th. I missed something though. Did you say Chrissy was your friend who also had a Facebook group? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so Chrissy is one who, Okay, so she had posted, and that was one of the people, but she had a little group going. So she had some recipes and things, or just had
Yes.
some ideas. Well, that's great. I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
you got started, you said a soft start, but actually a prepared start. Mentally and physically, you were getting all the things that you thought you needed.
I was gathering all the things. I was gathering all the things. And I really can't remember, Noreen, but it was because of Christy's posting in that private group that I even finally discovered that there was at that time the Bright Line Eating official Facebook group, the public group, right? I didn't initially even realize that, but she had been watching it and had posted something in the private group that she had learned there, right? I don't know what it was.
Right.
And so I did start following that. And as you and I talked about how I am forever thankful for so many things, right? All of the encouragement of seeing people lose at all levels, seeing people share candidly, I got to try some different food. The whole definition of heavy choices,
Right.
I hadn't thought about it, but I love some of the opening between Lori and Ed. I feel like they were just a huge part of my success. And here are two people that I don't know and don't know me, but between Ed's super deep, thoughtful posts on addiction and recovery and come all the way and sit down, come all the way in and sit all the way down. And I don't know if he coined that, but he references that, and his sharing on research. Those of us that have been following this for a while
Right.
have a definition of research, right? Trying things that are off plan and finding that 100% is easier than 99%. And I trusted, I don't know why, but I trusted Ed on that 100% was easier than 99.
And so I just want to jump in for those who are new to this kind of thinking, eating, and any of the groups. You're talking about Ed Pettit. And Ed
Yes.
is like most daily will write these inspirational posts. He's done it in the official group he did it forever, and then joined the Starting Out Bright group. I mean, we're so thrilled that he's in there and sharing his reflections every day. And he comes from a place of also 12-step. So he, generously shares ideas about, taking this very seriously in a 12-step environment too. And he has coined some acronyms like, NLA, no longer alone, or NOBOP, like not one bite off plan ever.
Ever.
And, it's just the sincerity and just being very honest about, as you said, doing my own research. You believe him. He's just so sincere, and he speaks
Yes.
the truth of his own life. So just to give a little bit of background of when you're talking about Ed, you mean Ed Pettit, and he's
I
just
do mean
phenomenal.
Ed.
He's a phenomenal gift to the community. Absolutely.
Yes.
And I know he was just like a superhero, and everybody's going, we love Ed. We love Ed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's different for everyone, but yes, between him and, like I said, Lori, and I love that opening too, that I don't even know how to pronounce her last name, but
It's Lundgren. And again, here's another hero. Lori, just out of generosity, okay, raise that up. It's the Tasty Freedom Cookbook. For those that are listening,
we love her.
Tasty Freedom Cookbook is available. I think it's at my gluten-free, sugar-free, so mygfsfkitchen.com. But you were saying, like, she had the handwritten recipes.
Yes.
Treasures. I mean, I don't know if she ever thought about doing a recipe book at that time, but I'm quite sure she has no idea how many people she has blessed with her recipes. And
exactly,
that gave some normalcy to this way of eating instead of just like, what can I have? And it's made so many interesting recipes for us all. So go ahead. I just wanted to give a little bit of background about those two people because I know that they were so, so special to you, finding Ed and finding Lori.
I did yeah, Lori, because of her cookbook, of course, I could kind of keep track of, right? Because she has the gluten-free, sugar-free kitchen.
Mhm.
But Ed, when the official group became her,
Pause.
as you needed to be a member to have access to that, or maybe it's on a, I think I heard you say
I think
pause.
it's just paused for the group, the official group, but they open it up every once in a while. But anyway, we can't communicate in there while it's paused. So there you were, you're stuck in the group, but you don't know where to go. Right?
Yeah. So I was just forever thankful that that I, I think probably from Lori, right? You've interviewed Lori, and so a couple of times maybe. And so through that, I got connected to watching yours and got here. So I'm just thankful how that all came together. Anyway, so there's a little bit of my story, and as I shared with you, thanks to them and many others that posted, I was able just to follow the book and follow the plan, and with all of the acronyms from Ed, none of which I can repeat to you like you, but I know them, right? I know it's, just follow the fabulous plan, come all the way in, sit all the way down. And I love no longer alone, listen. And for me, that was a lot, just hearing, reading what was happening in the communities.
Right. And just, putting an understanding about this, to take the program seriously, to take our own, if some call themselves food addicts, some say they're compulsive eaters, some say they just have a problem with flour and sugar, whatever it is, wherever you fit in that, but to take it seriously, because if it is food addiction, I mean, it's like the four little piles: cocaine, heroin, sugar, and flour. They all pretty much look the same. And others can describe it a whole lot better than I can, but it's just an addictive substance, the sugar and the flour. And all the above. So anyway, you found yourself now, in starting out bright, still being able to go ahead, and you took the weight off.
Did.
And from what I could see, you're still the same weight.
I'm still the same weight from when I lost. Yes. My weight came off. I made it, interesting. As I look back through, I still have, why do I keep these things? I still have my Weight Watchers booklets for those of us who've done Weight Watchers. The oldest one I found was from 1991.
Wow.
And it actually had on it, I just found it since we talked. I mean, I pulled it out. It had the weight range they would recommend. I find fascinating because the newer guidelines are more generous, which I found fascinating. However, I'm trying to remember what we're talking about. So I lost my weight actually pretty quick, but I set my weight goal at the very top of what one of the charts said was the normal weight range for my height. I'm 5'7". And so, and by the way, it was the lowest I'd ever weighed as an adult. So I never remember weighing it. So I'm like, okay, that's, let's just go there and that'll be good. And I would have been totally, completely content with that. So we started officially on January 13th, and by July 13th, I was pretty excited that it happened to me. Literally, I fell within the top of my range is 148. I fell to, I think I was like 147 and something. I did write a note for those who are interested in the numbers. A 146.6 on July. So I had actually was a little bit below it. So, and then I started maintenance. I was just very thankful. I was able just to really follow maintenance and really accept that I was not going to really change how I ate. I mean, it really is a small tweak to how we eat. It's abundant and it's glorious and I appreciate it, but I eat very similar to someone who's doing weight loss, right?
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I get extra protein and extra grain at breakfast, and I'm doing a grain at dinner, and I do some extra protein at lunch. But really, in the big scheme of things, it looks very much the same. And I'm very thankful that, as I told you, I am even more excited now that when I hit my year of maintenance, that I was the exact same weight. I was within a pound, right? I was just a
That
few
is
hours.
crazy.
And it was crazy even to me, because of course it's moved a little, within a 3 or 4 pounds up and down. I'm actually quite a little bit lower now than where I was. But I just love every single day that it's the same. I'm comforted now by the routine. I told you, and maybe this would be helpful to someone, that I do think there's a lot of grief that comes with the changes that come with committing to looking at food differently, right?
Yeah.
And not letting it, for me, have as much control as it had before. And so, I am thankful that when I started, I really did look at the year ahead with a mindset that I would, in essence, fast, if you will, as a person of faith, the desserts of all the celebrations to come. That I was just going into the year that I wasn't going to have my favorite birthday thing. I wasn't going to eat what we always eat at Easter and Christmas and Thanksgiving. And I wasn't going to have the unlimited Halloween yuck.
Mm-hmm.
But I really had to go into it, for me personally, just acknowledging that it was going to look different for a year.
For 1 year.
I only committed for the 1 year. And I will tell you, that's a big part why I feel like God just, I don't know, opened my mind and my heart to what Ed shared, because it was as the year progressed and Ed, shared about, that it's not worth it. I mean, I just really felt like it's just not worth it to not be 100%. And I found that after getting through the first year, and really after the first couple of events, that I'm like, I don't miss it. I love showing up and actually enjoying the people and enjoying the event. And I found myself able to just be so much more engaged in what was happening. And especially as my weight came down and I started to feel okay in my skin, right? I missed out on a lot of life. I didn't go to things that I wasn't comfortable in my skin. And so I didn't say yes to a lot of things that, looking back, I wish I'd have said yes to.
So I just want to kind of repeat what you said, because I think this is so important. You went in thinking, I'm going to do this for a year. And there was this grief, we think like, well, the party's over, folks. We're going to have this tough life, right? The party's over. But from what I'm hearing, and which I thought was really pretty profound, you just decided to just go fully in, and those special occasions, instead of concentrating on missing out, you actually just kind of said, I'm going to fast that occasion for that little dessert. I'm just going to fast on that day. Not fast from all food, just of that dessert.
Right.
And that was a mindset. I mean, it's a surrender piece. But you had an end date, and here you're reading Ed, like, this is just backing up everything that you're feeling now. You're feeling that this is 100% is pretty good. Like, I'm feeling good. I mean, you shared when we talked the other day that for your birthday, you actually made arrangements like with your family to do something special. What was that? Because I thought that's unique.
Yeah, my family loves to play games. And so games are often part of our celebrations. They really, often it is, we get time. And so when it was what are we going to do? I was still pretty new into doing this. My birthday's in April. And so, I'd only been doing it a few months. I wasn't at goal. So I was definitely on the weight loss plan. And so there was what are we going to do? How do you want us to do this? The family is asking. And I'm like, what I'd really like to do is let's just avoid the food part altogether. And let's just get together from 2 to 4 and play games. Let's just do the game part. And it was great, right? They still got to do whatever they normally do, right? If they don't eat like I eat, they eat the way they eat. So their meals weren't disrupted. They didn't feel uncomfortable with what I was eating because it was new enough to everyone. So we got together and I got to just really focus on the fun, right? Just focus on the fun. And I had eaten my lunch before I'd gone, and the games were over and plenty of time for me to go home and have my prepared and measured meal. So.
And you felt fully celebrated.
I felt fully celebrated
and fully engaged with everyone. And I know you said, like, for Easter, you were the hostess and you prepared the meal, and it was all okay to have.
Yeah. And the things that weren't, I was totally comfortable with serving. I made everyone else mashed potatoes. Well, I was in weight loss, so I wasn't having mashed potatoes at lunch. But I was fine. I had such a delightful meal. I got to have my deviled eggs because they're healthy, and I got to make them, so I knew exactly what was in the house. Yeah.
And then there's this peace of mind, and you actually did it, and you did it what some call as a crystal vase. So that means you're not eating one bite off plan. You're filing that NOBOPE, not one bite off plan ever. So that is just so amazing that you were able to do that. So after a year, you just decided to keep going.
Yeah. And actually, I would say that it was actually long before the year was up that I was already like,
why would I go back?
I'm not going. I mean, and it was, and part of that was that, what I found is no one really cares what we're. They might seem like they care, but I think a lot of times it's myself thinking that it's going to make them uncomfortable, or thinking that it's going to be embarrassing, or, to me, like to carry in stuff. But by the time I got going, we talked about, what do you have for lunch, breakfast and lunch, and how do we handle emergency?
And we're going to talk about that.
Okay. Well, then I'll wait.
But what I'm saying too is that you prepared people. You through that first year, you prepared them. Like, I'm doing this for a year. I'm not going to do things off plan. And so everybody knows. In fact, you said that when you started a new job, there was like a little intro section. Talk about that, because I think that's really like putting it out there. Very unique.
Yeah.
Being bold.
And basically that was pretty much a year after I'd started. Like I started this way of eating January of 21, and I started a new job in February of 22. So I'd been doing this for right at a year. And it was, they asked, we want to do a little introduction to the group and let them know a little about you. And it was, kind of the ideas were like, what did you want to be when you grew up? And have you met anybody famous? Just kind of things to be able to connect people to you, right?
Right.
But I did kind of the bullets, people that you've met, and, kind of a fun fact about one of the people that I knew from the firm, where we had crossed paths professionally. And then I literally just put Bright Line Eating, and it was just one sentence that said, with God's help and the book Bright Line Eating, I have recently lost 25% of my body weight and am so happy to be in my right size body. Even when I looked back, Noreen, I looked it up after we talked. I was like, I can't believe I heard that.
That's being pretty vulnerable on an intro.
Yeah.
But look what you did to set yourself up for success. Right.
But I do think it was that this is who I am. And it did just as I just shared with you, it did kind of lay the path that now when I eat my lunch in the break room, pretty much every day. I mean, if I'm out of the office or if I'm at a, at a lunch, but um, nobody really thought too much about it early on. Of course, now they're more curious and ask what I'm having. And of course, I'm happy to tell anybody more than they want to know. But yeah.
I'm just curious, has anybody ever asked you to see before and after pictures? Because when you say you've lost 25% of your weight or 25% of your body weight, that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever shared those?
It's interesting you said that. Really have thought, really just since your invitation, that I would like to print one for my office. I think it would be, because most of them know I've done it. I've shown a couple of people, but on my phone, just in passing. But very few have seen me before. Very, very few have ever knew me before or have seen a picture. So most of them just assume I've always been this size, and especially the newer people that are around that didn't see my intro, right? Yeah. They just assume that this has always been my size.
Well, that's the thing too. Even if you're around people for a long time, people forget after you've actually maintained for quite a while. They forget the old way, which we want to forget it too. And if we don't have body dysmorphia, maybe we can get on with our lives, and just accept ourselves whatever size we are. But it could be the one thing that really someone stops and goes, whoa, she really did lose the weight. And then it opens the conversation like, yeah, I lost the weight and I'm no longer pre-diabetic, or and I don't know, did you have any health issues or not?
Actually, so thankfully, like I said, I considered myself the healthiest overweight person I knew. But the reality is that we all know it's still not healthy, right? It's still a lot of pressure on our hips and our knees and ankles. And I wanted to be, feel good. Yeah, no, I was the healthiest person I knew. So I'm very thankful. I wasn't on medications and I wasn't pre-diabetic yet, but it was just a matter of time, right? You can't carry an extra 50, 60 pounds for life and it not catch up with you.
Yeah, because you had said what your highest weight was 217 or something like that when we talked.
That's what I have written down is 217.
And you got the books to prove it.
I do have the books to prove it. I don't know if it ever went higher than that. That's the highest documented I could find.
Well, now I want to figure out, I want you to let us in on what you do, because everybody approaches this a little bit differently. What would someone expect from you? Like, I know you're following Lori, you use some of her recipes. What is your normal day? What do you always do? What do you not do? I know you bought all the books. What's important to you on your journey?
Oh, so many. Really for me, the writing down my food the night before is a non-negotiable. And I do think for me is a game changer. There is something about writing it down the night before and there being absolutely no thought process on the next day. And it's a little alarming to me. I don't know if I should even admit this, but it's surprising to me how many times I have to go look at what I wrote down. Like literally I'll be coming in and it's time for dinner and I'm like, what did I write down? And so literally I'm going and looking at my book like, oh, that's what I was having.
What that tells me is neutrality.
It is. It's just neutral. It's just, and it's not that I don't enjoy it. It's not that I don't have delightful food. It's just that I literally don't think about through the day what I'm having later. And
you don't think about food all day either. Right?
I don't think about food. Yeah. It's very regimented. And for me, that automaticity is just a dream. It's just a dream, but it does require that. And there have been times, very rarely, but occasionally I've literally gotten in bed and went, I haven't written down what I'm eating tomorrow. And I've gotten up and gone. And I'm like, yeah, no, we got to go figure this out.
Wow.
Now, side of that is, for those who are interested, like my days are pretty much the same. I really don't require a ton of variety. In fact, it really, another thing I love about this community, and I love hearing from others, is, as you just pointed out, everyone does it a little different. And it doesn't mean that there's not many, many, many thousands successful doing it different than I do it. And that was so, like, I love that. I'm like, wow. Because those people who are like, no, I really, really have to be able to decide the next day. I can have it all prepared. I think it's Deanna Lay that she has it all prepared and she has choices and always healthy pre-done. But she decides that next day often, you know, what she's going to put together. Yeah, for me, putting it down at night is just such peace. But I also most of the time have pre-prepared my breakfast and lunch at least 2 or 3 days at a time. I don't do the huge batch cooking yet. I keep threatening to go to Lori's house. I want to do it and see how it's really done because I don't enjoy it. I've never enjoyed doing cooking and being in the kitchen, but I love the simplicity of having it ready. So I'll have Greek yogurt with berries, nuts, and seeds every single morning. And it's pretty rare that it changes. I did find in looking back at my 5 or 6 journals that has changed. When I first started, it was oatmeal with a little bit of with slivered almonds and always banana. I found that fascinating. The first 6 months, my breakfast fruit included banana.
Okay.
And I really think that was me trying to get used to no sugar. Because now I realize how sweet bananas are.
Really?
So bananas are pretty sweet especially if you've been trying to come off sugar. So I did bananas and I don't know when it finally happened that then I had been so far away from sugar that all fruit is delightfully sweet. All fruit is delightfully sweet. I enjoy it. So I rarely have bananas anymore. Anyway, so I prepare my food. I take my lunch. But I'm happy to eat out. But we were talking about getting used to and normalizing how we live. And I take a fruit with me into a restaurant 100% of the times. If I'm going out at breakfast or at lunch, I've packed a fruit with me.
Now that's pretty remarkable. I've packed a tea bag, but not a piece of fruit. So
100% of the time. At lunch and at breakfast, we get fruit, Noreen. What do? You sacrifice fruit?
No, I'm not going to sacrifice fruit. But for me, let's say we were going out, I find we're going to go for lunch or something, and there's never fruit there. So I have it at my desk after I get back.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. I would not be as brave as you to bring it to a restaurant.
Oh, 100% of the time. And by the way, if this encourages anyone, never once had anyone turn up their nose, look at it, mention it. And in the early days, I even look back and I'm like, ooh, I don't know about that. Early on, I would take an orange. And I don't know why I thought an orange was easier than other fruit, but that's what I was.
And going back to that being prepared thing. So, I mentioned the tea bag. Well, there was a reason for the tea bag. And it was when I'd get to the restaurant and, the first thing they say is what would you like to drink? So for dinner, that could be adult beverages or whatever that people at the table are going to have. Right. And I would immediately ask the server, could you just bring some hot water for me, please? And this would be before anybody's ordered. And I would, every single time, they've let me have my own tea. So it's my favorite that I bring. And my tea is brewing while everybody's getting their drinks. And it's just something for me to do. I just found it was a very peaceful way to integrate into conversation without being clumsy with my hands. Not that I have to be, not that I have to have a drink of some kind in my hands, but it's just so ingrained in us. that you go and you order something to drink, and then, you order your food, you have your hors d'oeuvre or whatever. And it's this big thing. Instead, to take ownership, like, no, I'm going to have tea and I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm enjoying the conversation, like concentrate on that instead of, being so frantic about what am I going to order. I look at the menu before I even go. It's these little things that actually add up to a lot to be prepared.
I agree. Oh yeah, I absolutely look at menus ahead. No, I agree. And I'm really pretty intentional. If there is a restaurant that serves fruit, I always purchase fruit. I mean, if they're willing to have fruit on the menu, fresh fruit, I absolutely give them the business. It's just that I'm amazed. It is pretty rare that a place has any fresh fruit available. There's some of the breakfast places that do.
Okay.
You have to, order, 2 or 3 sides of it, but to get 6 ounces or even close. But anyway,
I want to also talk a little bit, because you mentioned about some very simple meals that I think that can really come in handy. One, you mentioned Lori's cheese sauce. Tell us what you do with that.
Lori's amazing cheese sauce. Well, I think what I shared with you is, first off, it's just delightful. I like it all the time. But really, it is if I'm writing down my food the night before, which we just talked about, and I have looked in the refrigerator and I don't have a meat prepared or meat on hand or other protein source easily available, my go-to is Lori's amazing cheese sauce, because I can keep all the ingredients on hand all the time.
Yeah,
it has Greek yogurt. I just brought it in here. It has Greek yogurt, nutritional yeast, cream cheese, and then cheddar cheese. Right?
So really creamy.
All the cheeses. It is in all the cheeses. It's so wonderful. But I always have all those things on hand. And so it is my safety net, if you will, for dinner, because then literally a couple of bags of frozen vegetables seasoned up nicely, and Lori's amazing cheese sauce. And then right now I get a grain at dinner. So I usually just do Triscuits and I have dinner. And so not only is it delightful, it really is delightful and very enjoyable if you just like that creaminess of a cheesy vegetables.
I'm going to have to try it. And Susan in the chat said she had it for dinner.
Yeah.
See, this is what happens. I mean, it's in the slideshow. So if you want to go back and look at this on YouTube, you can see the recipe. But, it's these little things. And you also said that you have an emergency soup that you use.
Yeah, and that's kind of my go-to. There's a can in my drawer at the office. So a can of Amy's vegetable soup is BLE compliant, although the very first time I saw it posted was again on BLE or Bright Line Eating Official, and someone had said that it was 6 ounces of vegetables. Well, later, like months later, after I had been using it that way, I saw somebody posted that it's 14 ounces. So, decide for yourself how many ounces of vegetables you want Amy's can of soup. I have successfully used it as 6. And so if it was 10, I just got some extra vegetables apparently. So I wasn't as crystal based as we thought. But I love having it on hand because it counts as my vegetable at lunch. And it is one that super easily I can either have just a little, a couple of ounces of cheese on the side if I need to as the protein. I've put shredded chicken that I've cooked in the crock pot in it as the protein. I've opened a can of beans, right? If you really just have to go purely cans, I've opened a can of beans, drained them, rinsed them, and measured my 6 ounces and put in. Lately, my new discovery, I had no idea. I love putting refried beans. It makes it creamy because it is just a very brothy vegetable soup, right? And so canned soup. And with the refried beans as the protein, or at least half of the protein, I've done 3 ounces and, a couple of ounces of chicken, just makes it a creamier soup and a totally new experience. So yeah, Amy's is a go-to for me. Again, in a pinch, especially at lunch, but I've also done it at dinner and just added the other 6 ounces of vegetables. I've added just more vegetables into it. I've just made it a big, I don't know.
Yeah, I want to back up to what you just kind of said, a little teaser here. Crock pot chicken. What are you doing with your crock pot and chicken? Is
Yeah,
that something
I love
magic?
I just like having a chicken on hand, and it's just easy to put a couple of chicken breasts in the crock pot. And like 1 week, I might put a packet of taco seasoning. So just be careful to make sure you get some with no sugar, because sometimes they actually feel like they need to put sugar in our seasoning.
Yeah.
But I just do that and then just, let it cook and then shred it so that I can just do it on anything, right? I can put it on a salad, or I can put it in Amy's soup, or I will just eat it and measure it out over my vegetables. I'm not that picky. And then other weeks I might like Italian season it. So sometimes I do that, which sometimes I like, because if I'm going to do some of Lori's recipes that sometimes she'll say shredded chicken or rotisserie. And I have done rotisserie. I just don't pick it up as often, but sometimes I'll use my shredded chicken. And some of those recipes, I don't want it to be taco seasoned. So on those weeks, I put some Italian seasoning and stuff in it so that it's ready for some of the other recipes.
So there's a question here. Is there a brand name for the taco seasoning that you use?
I think mine is McCormick's.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
and you use one whole pack, or you just save it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I put the whole packet to 2 chicken breast. I put the whole packet. I like it to be seasoned up. And so
this is just some ways that you keep food in the fridge. You do a little bit of prepping then. You do your
I do
3 or so breakfasts that you do at a time. You have stuff for lunch. You use frozen vegetables, you had said.
often.
And what's wrong with that? It's quick.
Nothing. Now that I've learned all about seasoning, like I said, I never really cooked before. And who knew that these wonderful seasonings just are delightful?
And so now when you're saying seasonings, are you talking about some of the things with Lori's cooking? Lori's recipes?
Some of the things, one of her recipes, for instance, has curry. I don't think I'd ever owned curry. I didn't know what flavor it would even, like my brain didn't even know what. I probably had it at a restaurant on something, but my brain didn't know what curry was. And I'm like, this is really good. I had no idea. I'm like, curry. I have a local place that I like to go get. They have balsamic vinegar, like think of balsamic vinegar bar. I mean, they just like have 20 or 30 of them, different infused with basil and different things. But they also have seasonings, and they have an Italian seasoning that is actually, they advertise it, I guess, or its label is like dipping sauce, like a dipping bread. If you were going to put seasonings with oil and dip your bread, and which of course I don't do. Well, what I found is it's just a kind of an amped up Italian seasoning. It's just got a kick. And so I love it anywhere that takes Italian seasoning. I just use it now 100% of the time. So I'm the only person who has this in their cabinet that says it's bread dipping seasonings. And I've not had it with bread ever. So yeah.
I'm going to read this out because in case somebody's listening to this by podcast, so that they can just have a little teaser. We can't just keep teasing them about Lori's cheese sauce. The recipe's here now. 4-ounce yogurt or 2-ounce cottage cheese, 1-ounce shredded cheese, 1-ounce whipped cream cheese, 0.2 ounce, that's 0.2 ounce nutritional yeast. Mix that all up, microwave, and pour on your veggies. It equals 1 protein and 1 fat. That's Lori's cheese sauce. And then you can go to mygfsfkitchen.com for her recipe book. or I believe just my GFSF kitchen on Facebook too. I think that's the same handle. So
Right.
so the teasing is over with that. And I'm looking at the time and I can't believe how much time has gone by. But I want to ask you, Kelly, like through all this time, and you have managed to stay, as we call crystal as you thought you are, except for, now you're having way more vegetables than you thought. Um, Looking back at all this, what would you say is the non-scale or just the victories that you have found or what you've learned about yourself? What has been so special about this program for you?
It's just all of it. I mean, I think my biggest non-scale victory is staying the same size a year later. I still find myself amazed by that. But it's also the part of that is just that when the seasons change, the clothes in my closet still fit. And I don't have a second of question about that everything in there fits. It fits. It's still the same. It's all the stuff. Of course, all of it was new a year ago because none of the stuff before fit. And just being able to get on the floor with my grandkids, get up and down effortlessly is an amazing non-scale victory. Like so many, yes, I love that there is extra room in an airline seat. I mean, it's just liberating that not only do I not take up the whole seat, I don't infringe at all. Like I have room for everybody else to use a little bit of my seat.
Amazing.
And it's just an incredible blessing on so many, but I cannot dismiss how freeing it is to have my food planned, because I was that person that completely stressed out about what are we fixing for dinner. When my kids were young and growing up, it was constantly like, I know they need nutritious food. I know we should sit together. Like there's research, right? How healthy it is to sit as a family. And it was just like this hardest chore. I'm like, I don't enjoy cooking. I'm not good at it because I don't do it. Whereas this has just been heavenly and I consider that a huge non-scale victory, just so much freedom in already knowing and having some great ideas. I only need 3 or 4 choices is plenty for me. And I wasn't eating that much variety before. I was having the same 3 carry-out places, right? If we really look at it, the people who are saying it's too restrictive and I can't eat the same thing every day, I don't know if I'm
What were you having before? McDonald's.
Are you you found 20 different meals a month for dinner? I mean, if you did, those of you who cook, I mean,
yes. I mean, I'm not saying we do have variety here, but seriously, this, as you said, way, way, way in the beginning of all this, you said how abundant the meals are. And that's what's so amazing. I do want to say one thing too, that it blows my mind how many ads you have for your maintenance. I just want to say that because you have like 4, right? You were saying like a protein and a grain. And
meant to kind of think about that. I do. I have an entire let's see, I have a protein at breakfast and a half a grain at breakfast. I have extra protein at lunch. I actually bumped that up again. I've been in maintenance for over a year, but then it kind of started losing, even though I hadn't changed anything. So I added like a quarter of a protein. So I get like 1 1/4 protein at lunch extra. And then dinner, I didn't add any. I liked keeping it in the front part, and I just added the grain at dinner.
Just added the grain.
Just added the grain.
So, this is what's so amazing to me, because you're eating like a normal person, to be able just to have a little bit of everything at each meal. I think it's just fantastic. Who could have figured that out? And so here we are at the last question, Kelly, and it's this. What would you say to someone who is like you, thinking about starting Bright Line Eating, starting this way of life? what would you say to them?
Oh, Noreen. Guess I would just encourage all of them to give themselves a chance, right? Give themselves a chance at freedom. Be open to the plan. Trust that it's all you need. I mean, I'm just amazed that I don't have to worry if I got enough nutrition, even while I'm losing weight, even while I'm maintaining weight. And I guess my encouragement is maybe don't second guess it. If you feel the draw to it, if you feel like this is something that might work for you, if you feel the desire to just not have the weight of the weight, right? The mental and emotional weight of the weight, then I encourage you to do it. Buy the book. And I think what's great about this, Noreen, is you can do it 1,000 ways. We just shared that. You can have tons of variety in your food if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Even loss, you can have tons of variety, right? And if you want to keep it simple,
you can do that too.
And it's okay, right? But trust the plan. And the good news is you can commit however much money that you want, right? If you want to do, boot camp and you want to do the things, Brightline Eating offers those. And I'm sure that they're very helpful and resourceful. But if you're like, no, I just need to know what to do, the book has everything you need. Find an online community that supports you, can answer some of the basic questions, and go all in. Do it. It's worth it.
Wow, Kelly, just fantastic. And you know what? I got to say something that you found out about this by chance from a couple people. And then, you got into the online community, and then you found Lori and you found Ed, and they were serving as guides to you, in different ways, but they reinforced you. I mean, you strongly, like you were saying the other days, if there was a Make-A-Wish plan, for me, it would be to have a meal prep weekend with Lori.
Yeah.
I think we all need that.
Yeah.
But, it's like, now it's you, Kelly. Now you're telling your story and encouraging the one out there tonight, and, hopefully in the podcast and YouTube that will follow with this. And I hope that they will listen to you and see that you have done it, and you are doing it, and you're just a shining example to all of us. So I just thank you for sharing your story. It's just so great to get to know you, and I appreciate it so much. So anyway, with that, do you have any last words?
Well, I just take just a second. Noreen, you really are an amazing gift to this community. You are such a blessing and so thoughtful and put so much into this. Don't
make me cry.
Yeah, I know. I really can't say enough. And it really is a huge blessing. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your commitment. It has blessed me immensely. I'm thankful for hearing from so many that you take the time to interview and talk to. And it takes a village, and it really has encouraged me to share and to offer that hope in a kind, just informational way. And I thank you. So thank you for your time.
Well, thanks so much, Kelly. I really appreciate it. I think we could go on and on, because all of us have so much in this invested with each other, and it's showing up. I mean, that's what you're saying. Like, Ed showed up, Lori showed up, you showed up. And believe me, every time that you hit a like on theirs, it encouraged them too. You saying that to me encourages me too. And everybody, we're in this. We might not write every post ourselves, but I can guarantee every like, every woohoo, when somebody's accomplished something, it all matters. So we really are in this together. And I thank you all for being here. So I'm going to close as I do each week. Good night. Stay bright. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Good night, everybody. So, Kelly, how would you like to play 3-Question Thursday?
Well, let's give it a shot.
Okay, Kelly, you never know because I don't know either. Okay. But the other day, you brought up something just kind of as an aside, and I put it in the slideshow. I didn't ask you about it yet, but you like the Four Agreements, and I'm familiar with the book, but can you talk about that a little bit?
I would be happy to. Yeah, I really don't remember. It's been years and years ago when I first came across it. I don't even know who recommended it. I can't imagine just picking it up on my own. However, I do think that it is just so helpful, and I love that you put it on there, even for this journey, because the agreements are, and I'm not going to probably have them in order, but one of them is don't take it personally, and part of that in the book, you might know, is don't take it personally, the good or the bad, right? We're not looking for validation from outside as much as, how did you do? How are if you are doing things for the right reason? And I think that's helpful just to have that a little bit of boundary there with what people are thinking. The last one is always do your best. And what I love about what he says about that is your best might be different every day. And to me, that's really relatable to this because, the best I can do today might not be the fanciest meal, but it's weighed out. Or maybe you did have something that disrupted your day and you didn't get 6 ounces of vegetables, but you did the best you could today, right? Your best, your always do your best is going to change, but you're going to strive to always do your best. Be impeccable with your word. I just really like that one, really impacted me with my kids and growing up. And your word is very powerful, and what you say to people and how you say it is important, right? And I love, we even talked about, I think it's important for each person not to embrace a label for themselves inappropriately, right? It's a part of being impeccable with our language and how we talk. Okay, I got 3 of them. You have it up there. What's the other one?
That's really good. So there is a book, The Four Agreements, and in our conversation, you mentioned it, and I thought I'm just going to put that in there. So one thing that you said about it, one of your habit stacks is, without a doubt, you do your food journal every night, but you kind of slipped in there that you're doing the 5-year journal too.
I do. Okay. I love it.
What have you found now that you have 2 years into this?
Yeah.
What are you seeing? What has surprised you as you've gone through and you're seeing from the year before?
My 5-year journal. Love the 5-year journal because it is just a short little snip, right? It's not an overwhelming. I was never good at journaling. I always wanted to try. It is interesting how, as I get to see the years before, I got to see, when I made goal, right, that I've written in my journal that I was. And so here, then the next year, when I got to that same date on July 13th, right, you get to go, hey, but there's definitely times when I get to a day that maybe I, talking about non-scale victories, bought something in a new right, that I've gone and had been able to do that. And then, those are probably the big ones, but I do enjoy, I had grandkids, blessed with grandkids in 2021 and 22. So each year that comes up is fun to see, what my thoughts were, like what was happening, what we did, related to their birthday. And of course, my birthday, I was able to see we're celebrating differently. And so, yeah, I love the 5-year journal layout. It was very fun.
That's very cool. And you started on January 13th. So if you started the 1st, you had a few days of anticipation on that first time that you posted. And that's going to be my third question. When you go back and think about the Kelly of that day that you got started, what would you say to her now?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I guess enjoy the journey. You can do it. Quite honestly, there's a part of me, as we talk about parts, that is wondering if I would say to her, you're not going to believe it. You're really going to weigh less than 150 pounds. because I'd never broken that before, ever, ever. And even I was the person getting the doctor's excuse, if you will, so that Weight Watchers would let you go on maintenance above the range, because I'm like, but I'm healthy. So I think a part of me would be like, you're never going to believe this. This is amazing.
And I gotta mention too, that you said on one of the programs that when you would hit, like you'd lose the weight, you would get to add as maintenance animal crackers, right?
Yeah, basically that was their version of a grain. That was one of the carb choices. And it was something ridiculous, Noreen, like 6 or 9 animal crackers. Okay, all of us here, yeah, who eats 6 or 9? Okay, nobody eats 6 or 9 animal crackers.
Right.
Now I know. And when I read the book, I'm like, nobody told me. Like, of course, introducing the sugar created, and I never maintained a weight loss, ever. I went straight down and straight back up every time. Every time.
Deb says for 15
Amazing.
minutes you stayed there.
Yeah. Oh, I loved when Deb said that. Yes, I totally related when I heard Deb say the 15 minutes she stayed at goal. That was 100% me. Amen, Deb.
It's so true for many of us. I know that for me. I never made it to goal. I'm not there yet, but I will. I'm still plugging away, and all of this helps me too. So I just thank you, Kelly, so much for being authentic and just sharing your journey, and all the good information too, tips and tricks, about like putting it out there, like introducing yourself and saying, hey, this is how I live, And I think in the long run, it helps people respect you and respect what you're doing. So it's really great. So thanks for everything. And thank you for playing 3-Question Thursday.
Thanks, Noreen.
So good night, everybody. Stay bright.
Good night.
Good night.